We've had a lot of questions on foreclosures lately, so today we're going to delve into them.
You better get fired up.
Friday, baby, we made it. I hope you guys have a great weekend planned, but before we get to that weekend, let's delve into your questions on foreclosures. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, I am not a foreclosures expert. Back in probably 07, 08, 09, I did a lot of foreclosure sales because there were a lot of them then, a lot of foreclosures, a lot of short sales, a lot of really unique things that not only buyers and sellers weren't really aware of, but even the banks, when you contacted the banks, a lot of the banks, even the bigger banks, didn't have departments for this. They didn't have the setup, the systems, the streamline, any of that, right? So we were kind of making it up as it goes, and it was a really challenging process, which made it kind of an off-putting process for a lot of buyers and honestly agents, right? So now that we've kind of went through that big surplus of foreclosures in 07, 08, 09, I would say that dealing with foreclosures is a lot better, right? I think a lot of agents either are more knowledgeable or they have access to knowledge. And I think that banks now have the departments, or at least have the ability to quickly set up departments based on their knowledge from, I mean, what was that, 15 years ago? Not overly long ago. I think they're a little bit more prepared. We've got a lot of legislation in place to help them, help the systems to make it more streamlined. So hopefully if we have a situation even close to the situation in 08, we're much better prepared for it, right? But again, I'm not a pro on this stuff. I would say out of my 600 sales, I've probably had 8, 10, 12 that were foreclosures. I've had more that were short sales, but it's not enough to say that I'm a stud at this stuff, right? But what I did want to do, because I am a nerd, I am a professional nerd, is I looked at some statistics to share with you guys. And these are statistics, if I'm talking to an investor and they're saying, Joe, how much of my time and efforts should I be putting into foreclosures? Is that a real market right now where I can really make money? Or is it something that just isn't going to pan out for me? Here's some of the statistics that I would share for you. And I'm going to start with local statistics, and then I'm going to go into nationwide statistics. And I'm actually going to share with you what I think is a really helpful graph, because it's going to show you how you can easily state some statistics that make it sound a heck of a lot scarier than it is, right? And I'm going to show you that at the end. So first of all, let's get into local statistics. In Port St Lucie right now, right? If you look at all residential listings, we've got 1,464 options. That's what's for sale right now in our roughly 240,000 population city. Okay. How many are listed as foreclosures on the MLS? Out of those 464, 0. There just aren't any. Okay. Now let's go into the county. So we're adding Fort Pearson here. We jumped from 1,464 listings to, roughly another 1,000. We're up to 2,426. How many are foreclosures? 3. Okay. So we got 3 out of 2,426. That's about 0.1%. Let's look at our entire MLS. Now, predominantly speaking, our MLS goes from maybe Vero Beach down to Miami, but it does include the Keys. It does include, Tampa, Orlando. The whole state, honestly, can be a part of our MLS, but the majority of the people are the people from Vero to Miami. So we do have listings all throughout the state, and it's a total of 36,005 listings. Out of those 36,000, how many are in foreclosure? 132, right? So I did the math, because 132 sounds a lot bigger than 0 or 3. It's still 0.37%, right? So it's about 1/3%, or what would that be? 1 out of every 100, 1 out of every 300, if my math is correct. Take that with a grain of salt. So it's still not a concerning number, right? So going back to St. Lucie County, now that is what's on the MLS. So now what do we got that is going on with the auctions that is not hitting the MLS? Because they have auctions every single month at the county level, and you can go as an investor, a non-investor, whatever. You can go and you can bid on these homes, and if you hit the price, you get the house, right? Now, there's a lot of asterisks and red tape and a whole bunch of things that come along with that, but absolutely you can do that. So just in the last month, October, there were 52 auctions held. 25 of them sold and 27 were canceled. So roughly 50-50, right? Meaning 25 hit the price point that was needed. The other 27 did not. Now I'll tell you the average price on these from memory, it was just under 200,000. It was upper 100s. So that would make you think, okay, these are going to be a sweet deal. because the average price of a home in Port St. Lucie is 400 grand. These are going for just under 2. That's like 40-50% of value. That's an amazing deal. Pump the brakes a little bit. You can get good deals there. However, you have to be set up for financing when you go to these. There's no like 30-day close and you can do a nice conventional loan and you got contingencies. None of that crap, right? You need the money. You got to be ready to roll. If you're not going to get the house. Number 2, those homes tend to be lower end homes, right? You see a lot more $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes going to foreclosure than you do $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes. But Joe, I saw an $800,000 home foreclosure. I got it, right? But I'm just telling you, generally speaking, you're going to see a lot more lower end homes in foreclosure than you are higher end homes. What's my best guess, which is just Joe's guess? People with money have other opportunities. I mean, right now, if my business started slowing down, I've got 401ks. I've got IRAs. I've got savings accounts. I've got stocks. I've got company stock. I got things I can back up on. I got a home equity line of credit. I got credit cards. I got all kinds of things that I could do to bail me out of a situation, right? If I needed it. When I was 20 years old and I was making less income and I had less in my bank, if I get into one bind, I'm done. Like I don't have a backup. I would go into foreclosure had I owned a home. So that's why I'm guessing people with the higher end homes tend to go into foreclosure less than people with lower end homes. That's why I think that number is a little bit lower. Also, what I have found, and this really surprised me, is when I walked into a foreclosure situation or a short sale situation back in 07, 08, 09, a lot of those people got so desperate that they started to not maintain their house. So a lot of the homes had leaky roofs or ACs that didn't work, a lot of deferred maintenance. Nothing was kept up. It was all really dirty, maybe mold in the corners that wasn't cleaned up, hadn't been power washed in forever. Just a lot of issues, right? Taking down the value of the property. You also saw vandalism. Now, I'm not hearing about this a lot now, but back then copper was going for a lot of money. So you'd see people actually ripping out the copper piping in their houses to sell the copper, make some money and buy some food or whatever it was they bought. I'm assuming it's food, right? I'm not hearing about that issue now, but in all honesty, the number of foreclosures is so low. I'm not really hearing about foreclosures, period, right? So it's just not something we're seeing, but I do want to bring up all of those issues bring down the average value of a property that's going to sell in foreclosure. So to go in thinking, hey, a home in Port St. Lucie averages 400, but the auction numbers are a little under 200. I'm going to get a sweet deal. It's not that straightforward. Is it worth it to go in and do it? If you've got cash and you understand how the auctions work, absolutely. And if you're an investor, go to an auction. Even if you never buy a house from an auction, it'll open your eyes to how they work and let you know whether or not it's something you want to invest your time in, right? So 52 auctions, 25 sold, 27 were canceled. So how many were sold throughout the year, right? This is 10 months because it's not counting November yet. There were 231 properties in St. Lucie County that sold via auction. That's compared to the 3 that are currently on the market. So if I'm thinking I want a home that's in foreclosure, you're going to have roughly 80 times greater chance of finding one on an auction at the county than you are finding one on the MLS. So that's really important to know too, if you're out there hunting, right? Now, last thing I'm going to share, and I'm going to see if I can share screen here to actually show you guys. Let's see, share screen, what I'm talking about. I looked up nationwide statistics. Everything I saw when I looked up nationwide statistics said foreclosures are on the rise. Foreclosures are up 15%. And it was all these scary statistics. And I see some of my friends on Facebook, some of them are realtors, are posting these scary stats too. And I thought, well, how accurate is that? Because I always question stats, whether they're scary, non-scary. I think if they're non-scary, should they be scary? Or if they're scary, should they be less scary? Let's go really dig into it. So I dug into it. I'm going to share this with you. You should be able to see it right now. It's a company called Atom Data, right? ATTOM Data, DATA. And they are showing us right now by quarter the foreclosure statistics since 05, right? That's the far left here is 05. So you can see that the peak here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, looks like it was roughly Q2, Q3 of 09, which that gels exactly with what I would have guessed. And then it started coming down, right? So you can see before the foreclosures went way up in Q2 of 05, when a lot of people thought the market was very strong, we were at a little over 100,000. I'm going to guess that's 105, 110,000. Once we hit that peak, which I'm guessing was around 560, 570, it was a lot. It was 5 times more. And again, that was about Q2, Q3 of 2009. You can see it came back down to those Q2 of 05 numbers around 2015, right? So those numbers subsided, came back down, and we were kind of through what we thought was the foreclosure issue. Now, since 15, all the way until COVID hit, you can see the numbers have slowly come down. And then all of a sudden there's a cliff. My opinion of why that cliff is there is two things. Number one, banks were not going after foreclosures as much, right? In fact, there was a moratorium on it for a long time. That's why it's such a sudden drop. Also, a lot of people during COVID were staying home. They did not want to lose their house. They did not want to go outside. They did not want to travel. So they were staying in and they were paying their mortgage, right? So that number went down significantly. Now, you saw it kind of level off for about, a year from it'd be Q2 of 2020 until Q4 of 2021. So about 6 quarters, right? And then all of a sudden it crept up a little bit, but now it's kind of subsided again, right? So a lot of people are looking at that jump from maybe Q3 of 2021 until now, but really the majority of that, if not all of that, happened in 2 or 3 quarters. And they're saying, oh my gosh, numbers are going up substantially. Well, in the realm of things, they're really not, right? We are still, even today at roughly 80, 85,000, we are significantly lower than where we were in a very strong market back in Q2 of 05. We are still significantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Stable compared to a lot of different times. I mean, look at the jumps you're seeing in the very beginning, right? From Q2 of 05 up until that peak. And then look at the roller coaster the other way, coming back down. It really doesn't calm down until you hit about Q4 of 17. And then it's pretty even, Steven. Yeah, it's coming down, but it's pretty stable. Of course, you hit that foreclosure moratorium, so it drops. But then you see more stability. Then we get a little bump. Then you see more stability. In my opinion right now, if I'm looking at this and I'm a leader of our country, do I want to always, in any market, be taking measures to help people and lower foreclosures? Absolutely. How big is my fear level looking at this? It's not high at all, right? If you want to create fearful statistics out of this, you absolutely can by comparing it to maybe the very low trough there in Q2 of 2020. But if you're looking at the picture as a whole and talking about how scary it is compared not just to the last 1, 2, 3 years, but compared to the overall markets and what we dealt with during those times, it's very unscary when you look at it that way, right? So just want to share that. If you're looking at it from a perspective of how scary is it, in my opinion, one guy's opinion, looking at that data and the data I share with you locally, it's not scary at all. It's not something I see as a problem. And in all honesty, right now, people are doing anything they can to keep their 2, 3, 4, 5% interest rates. Anything they can. It's number one priority because they know the odds of the rates coming back down like that are very low and they don't want to lose that rate. So we're seeing people do everything they can to keep their houses, right? That's why we're seeing low inventory. That's why prices are not dropping as much as we anticipated they would because rates are going up. It's a crazy thing. I thought when rates went up, prices would drop, and they haven't. It's because we got inventory issues due to those rates that people don't want to let go of, right? It makes complete sense. So I don't foresee foreclosures being a problem. A lot of people are shouting from the mountaintops it will be. The data isn't showing it yet. We'll see what happens. If I'm an investor, what am I thinking? There's a lot of other ways to make money in this market right now. Foreclosures, because they're so small, is probably not going to be where I want to focus my time. So maybe in 6 months, 12 months, we can have this discussion again. I don't see any reason why we would based on data, but I'm not the real estate god, so you never know. So we'll see. Guys, if you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them. I will always get back to you even after the videos. If you've got ideas for future videos where you'd like me to dig in and get some insight for you, more than happy to do it again. Leave that in the comments and we'll take care of you. Other than that, thank you for joining us as always and have a fabulous weekend.